Hello, hello, hello. This is Corey Thompson from Above Board and all sorts of fun things.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 356, and we're recording it on time, February 11th, 2025.
We're 9 minutes
Board
late.
Board Games Insider, powered by Board Game Geek. Corey, so good to see you. Of course, as we see, number three is not here, literally with another great excuse. This time he forgot his headphones, and you really can't record a podcast with if the mic.
He he felt so
He did.
bad. I mean, he was there, he was ready, he had all his equipment, and it was just the last little the
Yeah,
last little bit.
but he's not here, so we can mock him incessantly. I think that's the key. You
That's
know.
it.
Okay,
That's it.
but with no further ado, please, what is going on in the life of Corey Thompson? Because I personally know it's crazy busy.
It is insane. Um, had a lovely little get together at the house with friend of the channel, Bree Goldberg, for her birthday. I think we talked about that a little bit.
Goldman.
Uh, Goldman, I am so sorry. It's
Bree,
You wake
sorry.
me at 6 in the
That
morning.
Corey gets up at 6 a.m. Pacific time to do this. It's amazing. Go ahead, Corey. Sorry.
And then had a little bit of packing and putting together. And now, over the past couple days, I drove from the Napa Valley area all the way to Seattle, where I am right now.
Yeah, and
So
and for the record, that is not an insignificant drive. People think, Northern California, Seattle, it's got to be close. How many hours is that drive if you did it nonstop?
uh, altogether, it was about 15.
15-hour
And
drive.
but we I had our mutual friend Marion, who has a meeting up in Seattle, and we took kind of the scenic route. We went to, well, my mother's house
Yes.
on the beach in Sea Ranch, called Stephen because I cannot go a day without my mother
No,
asking
the,
about how Stephen's doing.
the way you said that, it sounded like the Sea Ranch house was called Stephen. No, you actually phone called
Oh, we phoned.
Bonacor.
Yeah,
You phone called me, and your mother and I spoke because your mother thinks of me as her much nicer, better son than you.
it's very true. It's very true.
It's so funny.
And so continued this absolutely gorgeous drive along the shore of California, through the redwoods, through the mountains, into Oregon, and now Seattle. And it's going to be a week of various meetings and visiting friends and tours. I might be visiting a certain company where one must catch them all. I'm going to be visiting with uh, one of a good friend, game designer Ashwan, who's done Chicken Fried Dice and The Wolves for Pandasaurus.
Very cool.
It's just such a great gaming area. I love Seattle. So going to eat good food and go to some game stores and play some nice games. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
That sounds absolutely fantastic, as you're saying. Over here at the Podfather of Gaming, I kind of mentioned quickly, I think, last week that um, a couple of people from this podcast are going to about to start a new role-playing campaign set in the One Ring Second Edition universe. So Corey and I and Paula, who you hear about all the time, and Alex Schmidt, my good buddy, who does he was DMing the 5e D&D campaign that's been passed over to Dustin, but he's a player there, and he's such a good buddy. So the four of us are going to start the One Ring Second Edition campaign. We have our session 0 tonight. Obviously, I'm excited, and you'll hear more about that as it unfolds. Super Bowl weekend was just this past weekend, and while A, Corey doesn't give a crap about the Super Bowl, B, it was a pretty bad game overall. You know what happened? The betters, some of us, did very, very well. Not like tremendous, because we make all of these prop bets. So it's like investing in many stocks, right? If you think about it, right?
Yeah, but
Some
they're
of them go
silly
up,
bets.
some of them go up. So, well, I mean, silly is what you make of it. Like the Eagles to win with 4.5 points over 43 points. In fact, that parlay, we had a parlay of those two things. Eagles plus 4.5 and over 43.5, we won. And that was one of our big money bets, bigger than most of the rest of them. and that hit, and that made us positive for the day. We won. It was like a 27% ROI. Not bad, right? I mean, for a few hours of having fun and drinking old fashions and sitting there and screaming about the Super Bowl. It was a really good time. Um, Blood on the Clock Tower cruise, right? So Jeff
Yeah,
Anderson is running this for the Pandemonium Institute, who publishes Blood on the Clock Tower. I'm not
right.
the biggest fan of this game. I like it. It just goes on long. It's like Werewolf on steroids, of course, as I've kind of said. It's 5 nights out of Miami, and I'm going to be on that cruise this coming week. Actually, it's a week from yesterday. So looking forward to that. Just a nice, relaxing thing. We'll play some board games as well and eat some bad food for us, but good food, and then just enjoy life there for 5 nights. So hopefully I'll see some listeners or just some gamers there, and we can talk. And then it's out to GAMA Expo. And then after that,
Yes.
Dice Tower West. Corey and I will be at both of those things. So
Yep.
please,
Yep.
that's the big shout out, because we certainly should see a lot of our friends at GAMA Expo and friends
Yeah,
and fans
especially.
at Dice Tower West. So very excited about those two upcoming game events. Which, of course, now we start almost the new season of conventions and things like that,
Yeah, it's
which is
beginning.
great. It's beginning. And a quick thing on Play to Z Games: the late pledging for Tales of the Arabian Nights. Stephen, get it right. Late pledges are now open on GameFound.com. So if you missed out on it, you weren't sure about it, watch and listen to the buzz about what people are saying about this amazing game. Go over to GameFound.com, search for Play to Z or Tales of the Arabian Nights, and late pledge. And GameFound's got this really cool thing. It's called like installment pay or something like that,
Yeah,
where you could pay like in three equal pieces over 3 months. So it's spread it out for your budget. Not bad. So if you want to do that, remember you can do that as well. In the meantime, the event deck.
mm,
So Corey, a very cool thing that Board Game Geek has done, and I was very privileged to be part of it, was they created the Board Game Geek Hall of Fame.
yeah. This has been a
Explain that.
long time. It's been a long time coming. Board Game Geek has really become the central gathering place for everybody. And it's they've always maintained their list of best games by user ratings and official geek ratings and all these weird things. But now they've actually created, uh, I believe it's a top 25
That's right. Well, it's
Board
the
Game Geek.
Hall of Fame, and the
No, it's
first
not top games.
25.
I misspoke.
Right,
They created the first 25 in the Board Game Hall of Fame.
right.
And it's lovely. It's we both, I believe, got the opportunity to give little tribute videos and introduce some of the games. What game did you introduce?
I did four different games for them. They asked me to do like three, and then they
Nice.
didn't have anybody else to do a couple, so they added another one. I did diplomacy.
Oh,
So
cool.
remember, the key here is not these are not the greatest games of all time, which diplomacy very well might be. These
Foundational.
are
Yeah.
foundational games. These are games that make the hobby, what it has become. Diplomacy, and they put it, and they rolled this out.
Yeah.
They rolled this out
The
from oldest to newest. So Diplomacy from
Diplomacy is a
1959.
role-playing game. It's not a board game.
Oh, stop. And then I did Acquire. I was on the first two because Acquire is also quite old. That's like the classic Sid Sackson 1964
Yeah,
game. I was on those first two. I was on Seven Wonders. That was one of my late ones and one of the later games in that list. And I did one more, and it just doesn't come to me right now. But anyway,
that's
you
fine.
can.
I did Terra Mystica, which
Okay,
is that
excellent
one
game.
means a lot to me. That's a really nice game. But I came in
Absolutely.
kind of I batted clean up a little bit at the end.
There,
They had very few they wanted someone to talk about.
there you go. So anyway, you can check that out on Board Game Geek. You just search for Hall of Fame. It's very, very cool. So we got people moving around in the industry here, and this
Yeah,
one's a very big one. It's Justin Ziran, who was the longtime president at WizKids, and
right.
he has now left WizKids, and he's going over to Serious Dice as a partner. So he's going to be a co-owner and co-president, which is very interesting. And I'm going to read this from ICV2. Longtime WizKids president Justin Ziran is moving to Serious Dice, and that's Serious with an S, as partner and co-president, the company announced. He joined Serious Dice co-founders Lax Chandra and Tina Trenkler, reuniting a trio that crossed paths at WizKids in the late decade of the first 2000s,
Yeah.
whatever we call that, the aughts, in the late aughts. Ziran had become president at WizKids since 2012 when he took over from Chandra, a period when the company's product lines and sales expanded dramatically. He's particularly experienced in collectible products, a category that Serious Dice is expanding into aggressively. So this is very
So
interesting. I know we
I
had
want to I want to put a little bit of flavor on this.
sure, go for it.
So Serious Dice had a long-term relationship with Wizards of the Coast. The two have worked together since 2023. But a little after this press release that Ziran has left WizKids and joined Sirius, there was actually another press release that Renegade and Sirius have partnered up to uh, as a strategic agreement for Dice.
Oh, to do like certain special dice for
Yeah.
certain Renegade games because Renegade is into role playing.
Well, the other thing is Renegade has sort of purchased most of the Avalon Hill line, so they are in bed with Hasbro, WotC, Avalon Hill, all that.
Very, very interesting. Other movements within the industry, also from ICV2. We have a new managing director at Tabletop Tycoon, a new VP at ACD Distribution, and new marketing manager at Hachette. We won't go too deeply into this, but very briefly, we have a longtime game executive, Ben Rathbone, joining Tabletop Tycoon as managing director. Chris Corbett, promoted to vice president of sales at ACD.
Hmm.
And Nikki Schultz joining Hachette Board Games USA as the marketing manager there. If you don't think there's room in this industry for people, and especially to move around, you'd be mistaken. You have to know people. You got to have yourself out there. You got to prove yourself, and you can do great things
Networking,
in this
man,
industry.
networking.
And continuing sort of on the business side of the industry, we've been talking extensively about the Diamond Comics bankruptcy and what that it means to all kind of segments of geek product distribution. That includes games via Alliance. That includes comics. That includes some toys. It includes a lot of things. There's now plans are in place for the auction of Diamond, Alliance, and other assets. ICV2 again.
Yeah,
Filings in the Chapter 11 bankruptcy of Diamond Comic Distributors and related companies lay out the plan for the auction of assets, including FreeComicBookDay.com, which is described as a division that operates an annual promotional event where
yeah.
participating comic bookstores give away free comic books to drive product awareness and attract consumers. So, Corey, they're now putting the roadmap together to get rid of the pieces of
Yeah.
Diamond Comics, which will then make it potentially, hopefully,
And
solvent again.
there's quite a few pieces. They're auctioning off six sections of Diamond Comic.
And what are those
Alliance,
sections?
it's Alliance Game Distributors, Collectible Grading Authority, which is a big one for cards, Fandom World, Free Comic Book Day, Diamond Book Distributors, and Diamond Comic Distributors.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the big one to most of our listeners is what's going to happen with Alliance Game Distributors. Will
Sure.
Alliance end up existing as its own entity, spun off but wholly owned by Universal? Maybe, or will someone else buy it, or will they change the name of it? There's many,
Right.
many paths there, but all of these paths lead to the same conclusion. Alliance is not going to be the same company it was just a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. And this is all going to happen at the end of March with a final decision by April 10th.
Very cool. All right, Corey, what do you got here about Grail Games forming a strategic partnership with Frostbite Games? Tell us about it.
I mean, it sounds really cool, but in reality, what's going on is there's a lot of shuffling going on at Madigo. Madigo tends to own a lot of little companies, and these are two of them going into a partnership. So the Australian publisher Grail Games, which is owned by Phil Walker Harding's brother, is going to form a strategic partnership with Frostbite Games, and Frostbite is the new name and logo for the old Maple Games, which was created quite a while ago. So both are heavily associated with Madigo. The goal of this pairing is to do heavier titles and titles in the Manhattan Project line. The newest game in that line is going to be 2025 release Manhattan Project Energy Empire. And this is a good friend Luke Laurie is working on this one with Tom Jolly. So
Very
it's
cool.
the Kickstarter, I think, is going on now. Yeah, no, it's coming to Kickstarter the end of February, February 28th. That's Manhattan Project Energy Empire, which is the first Frostbite game in this partnership.
Very interesting. Good luck to them in their new partnership. That's great. So we have another. We got a lot of ICV2 this week. KTBG and
Yeah,
Origame joining
this is
forces. Corey, what about it?
Kid Table Board Games, which just a absolutely fantastic company. Helena and Josh Capel
Aren't they
running
amazing?
Kid Table Board Games. Just saw them in Toronto. The two of us were there,
Yep.
and I had such a good time. But they are joining forces with the Singaporean company Origame, which might be Origame. There's debate about how to pronounce it. I don't know. What I'm really excited about is Origame.
I think it probably is Origame because origami is with an I at the end. At least I think.
Yeah, I think it's a very clever title
Yes.
regardless.
Yes.
But Origame is one of the big depositories for Singapore board games from designer Daryl Chow, who his games are really just amazing. So the big ones coming up are Oh My Orchids is a new set collection game where players gather seed cards to plant their garden of Singaporean flowers, and Chock-a-Block tile-laying puzzle game where players build apartment blocks. Those are the big ones coming up under this partnership. So it's great for Kid Table Board Game. They've been partnering with a few Asian companies of late. The other big one was with ArcLight, our old friend, the giant distributor ArcLight. They are putting out Nana Tamigami,
Okay.
which they just announced.
Very, very cool. I like to see these partnerships making, two smaller or disparate entities coming together to make them even stronger. So
It's
that makes it very
almost like
interesting.
someone had predicted more partnerships between Eastern and Western companies.
Oh, you better write this one down. Maybe this
I
one's going to
did. It was my
qualify.
last year's. It was my last year's prediction.
Oh, it was not this year. Too bad. Too bad.
And you
Okay.
said I was wrong, but I still say I'm right.
All right. Um, we have some interesting news out of GAMA. We talked about the GAMA Expo a little bit at the top.
Yeah. This one, so Gamma set up a fund of sorts where you can go through Gamma and support retailers in Southern California and the Los Angeles area who've been affected by the recent fires. A lot of retailers lost inventory, lost buildings, lost personal effect. So this is for people within the industry to donate games or resources to help rebuild what retailers have lost. I looked really high and low for the official link to send people over. It's in the Gamma newsletter, a February Gamma newsletter. And it's a Google form to support retailers that were affected by the fires.
Interesting. So they don't have a an easier link that we
I
could
didn't see it
yeah.
through. I found it pretty easily by Google searching, but I
Well,
didn't see it
sure.
on the
What's
Gamma main
what's good
page.
is I obviously um this is retailers, right? Going to
Yeah,
be
retailers
requesting some.
helping retailers.
Right. So they should be able to see this because they all have the Gamma newsletter. If they're members of Gamma, they have the Gamma newsletter.
Exactly.
So they
And
should be able to find this.
if you're a retailer really wanting to help on this project, I'm sure Gamma will be really helpful if you just reach out to them.
Absolutely. All right, Corey, we now move over to Board Game Wire, our good buddies over there. And we have more news about Mythic Games. They've always had some issues there in fulfilling some
Yeah.
Kickstarters. So So what's going on? Was there a final to this, or are they still
It's
trying?
they they've moved from trying really hard to kind of figuring out logistics of their ongoing projects and getting ready to close shop. So this is probably the last big thing we'll hear out of Mythic until we hear that they have officially closed. And it's mostly a Board Game Wire article about how they're dealing with the Monster Apocalypse Kickstarter, which was a really big one. Um, so they've kind of uh, given up distributing this last one. So it's another nail in
Yeah.
for
And
Mythic.
it sounds like this is as you say, this is Monster Apocalypse, and it looks like
Yeah,
Privateer Press, which is a huge
that's
company.
it. I didn't mean to imply that the Kickstarter is
R-
gone. This is Privateer Press has taken over. Mythic is now officially out.
Right. So they're kind of taking this over, and let's hopefully they can deliver and finish this all up. And Corey, guess what? We've come to the end of our event deck news segment.
It
I
was a
think
lot of news.
there
It's
was. I tried to get through it as quickly as we could and still make a good impact for everybody. I think now it's strategy and tactics.
all
All right,
right.
Corey. First one we have here is from David Boyd from Wales. He's at Davy Boyd. New listener and first time questioner. I've recently become a partner at an FLGS. I'm so sorry to hear that, Davy. I know I'm kidding. I mean, these are very hard businesses, so good luck, with that. So your podcast has been very helpful on the new venture. Well, thank you. My question is, what would be your dream team game design? I saw this question before
Wow.
the show, and I was like, wow, this is actually a really hard question.
It is.
And
Yeah.
he kind of frames it a little bit for us. He says designer, artist, theme, mechanics, publisher. What's your dream team game and all the pieces that go into said game? What do you think, Corey? It's
Wow.
hard. I don't know, right? Hard.
It's tough. I think my designer would be the Brandts, Inca and Marcus Brandt. They are my favorite game designers.
Interesting. Okay.
Artist, I'd have to go with Kwanchai Moria. Not only is he a spectacularly nice guy, but Kwanchai is just such a chameleon. He can do any style. I would specifically want his minimalistic blocky style that he did for Catacombs rather than a realistic painting style, which he's very good at. Like Apiary is Kwanchai Moria realistic style. Um, I have no idea with the theme. It probably would be something Euro and medieval. Mechanics, I want.
Something boringly named of a city in Europe that is just completely a puzzle that you got to solve. I got it. Okay, thank you,
I
Corey.
love that. I love that. Mechanics, I'm gonna go with bag building. I
Okay,
think that it's been a while since we've had a really engaging bag builder. We were on a roll with Orleans and then Altiplano, which I think are great games. And Quacks of Quedlinburg, of course, is a nice bag
fantastic.
builder. But
Yep.
I would love a bag builder because the Brandts they do such unique mechanisms. They're the designers of Rajas the Ganges, Murano, the Village. They just do cool stuff. Publisher, I kind of want a heavier Euro from them, so I'm going to go with Lookout.
That's a good choice
Um,
for heavy euro, sure.
yeah.
So for me, like literally can't even I can't even try to like
I'm a
answer this question.
professional. I could do it.
Yeah, we are okay. You can think on your feet better. Okay, you win. So for me, artist, I think Michael Menzel has always spoken to me as like
Yeah.
one of the greatest
You
artists
can
out
cheat
there.
and make him
I
designer also.
and I can cheat and make him designer, which I might do. Somewhere behind me is there it is. You can't really see it. It's Forum Trajanum. I'm kind of pointing at it in my Stronghold Games section there. Um uh Theme has got to be fantasy or sci-fi. It's just what I love. I mean,
Yeah.
and of those two, it's so hard. I mean, so certainly, of course, Lord of the Rings and Tolkien is
Dune, Lord of the
my
Rings,
thing.
Dune, Lord of the Rings, Dune,
But
Lord of the
sci-fi's also got all that great stuff. So um maybe sci-fi. And I want somebody, you know what? Maybe I would go with like Isaac Childress, and
Ooh.
he's gonna give me a deep, rich universe with unbelievable storytelling, set in some cool science fiction world, where I've got to explore that world, and sometimes we got to fight for it and things like that. So maybe dungeon crawly, but lots and lots of stories and things like that. So I mean, obviously he's a little busy right now, with his like, mega products in his own world, right? In the
Yeah.
Haven, in the world of the Haven. But that's my jam, that those kind of games. And I do play the Euros too, but you know, more story is better. So let's move on. Marco Dobranic from Croatia. He's Madhouse78. Hey, Marco. Um, what's your favorite food and why? What's your favorite food related game? Mine is point
Wow.
salad. What do you? What's your favorite food and why? Okay, I'll go because you had to think.
Okay, okay.
So I mean, my favorite food is actually going to be, I mean, like the one that is easy to get to, but just a great pizza makes me so happy. If I was had one meal left on life, I would probably just say, give me a pizza that is
Oh.
made just brilliantly, lots of
I
stuff on it. So, but
I
I
had
have
a
lots of
pizza
food.
at my parents' house with Marion. We had pizza, and I committed the
Calif
mortal sin of saying that I did not like New York style pizza.
You adjust that here. So I was about to say California pizza is crap. And of course, New York style is much better. But, I was going to be nice. And now you're saying that New York style sucks. Okay, great. That's
And
just
then
our
my parents are from there. They were horrified as
favorite food related game,
well.
Corey. What,
Yeah.
um,
I'm gonna say oh, I've lost it. There's Steam Up, I'm gonna say is my favorite food related game. Dumplings and dim sum is such a good food, and Steam Up is such a cool physical manifestation of that. I just absolutely love the way it all comes together.
how
I'm gonna
about
throw that one out.
the old school Z-Man game, Wasabi? I'll go with that one.
Oh, it's now Kid Table Board Games.
Oh, and they got it now. That's excellent. There you
Yeah.
go. And he also goes on to say that I haven't commented on SpaceX catching Super Heavy. Are you planning to try to see a live launching and landing
He's
of
probably
Starship?
just still in shock.
I
He's still just so affected.
think the world is in shock by what SpaceX is doing. I'm not planning on trying to go see anything regarding Starship out in Boca Chica, Texas, which is where they do all those launches in the test mode. But they are going to be moving production facilities, not production, actual launch facilities to the Kennedy Space Center once it's like a live rocket. Once they're actually putting payloads into space, at that point, 100%, I will be going there and watching them live. Trainer, trainer Bobandi from Iceland.
Hmm.
He or she is Bobandi. You're facilitating a game night. It's at a restaurant and the kitchen is open during the event. Wow, there's a lot of food stuff
Oh,
going on here.
I
Albeit
dig it.
guests are asked not to eat while playing, but there might be food around the premises. You don't know who's coming. Wow, this is like a multi-layered question. But you have to be prepared to facilitate 6 to 8 tables, and there might be families with kids of all ages. There might be gamers hoping to see some of the new hotness. There might be teenagers wanting to play the next Cards Against whatever game, and there might be drop-ins who have never played a game more complicated than Uno without an alcoholic beverage. There is plenty of shelves, but you're bringing all the games. The event is scheduled for 3 hours. How do you prepare? What games would you bring? What games would
You
you
have
not
three
bring?
paper clips, a sheaf of 7 pieces of paper.
So, trainer, this is like
This is tough. This
it's
is homework.
impossible. I mean, this is too much. With all due respect, I would never organize an event like this because it's too hard to organize an event where you have people who have never played a game and people are hardcore gamers, people with kids and people who
Yeah,
want to be
but I've come
serious.
close because I've organized events and had a lot of people come who are gamers, but they will bring spouses, family in tow who are not gamers. So I do
Sure,
get a mixed crowd.
sure,
I probably would have seeded an event like this with Tiny Towns, which is a lovely bingo style game, Karuba, lovely bingo style game that's very accessible. Um, Guild of Merchant Explorers, which is a little heavier but certainly still accessible. in a bingo style game. Um, Welcome to is a lovely little roll and write, and that way you can have people seated at separate tables. You can have less experienced being helped by more experienced, and you can use the bingo style to do any number of
Yeah.
players.
Yeah. And I mean, the answer to this question is not actually as hard as it sounds, because if, for those non-gamers, you just bring out the ones that the rules explanation literally goes on for 2 minutes. You start playing the game and people get into it. The
Yeah.
Kabangas, the flip sevens, right? Um,
Well, Kabanga is going to be tough if you have a group this size.
no, well, you
Six to
have
eight tables.
Well, yeah, but the point is that's one of the games. Slip seven is another game. You can just bring out a whole bunch of light games, and well, you don't know. I mean, you don't know that it's that some people are non-gamers and some people are
Sure.
experienced gamers. You have this whole range. So I'm just saying you bring out the bunch of light games, you put them
I
in one
thought
side.
about Flip 7, but we've got 6 to 8 separate tables, and Flip 7's really made for one cohesive group.
They're not saying everybody's playing together. They're saying that this
I'm
table is
taking this. This is
oh.
homework, man. I'm working on this.
You know what? Here's the thing to do, trainer. You go to Corey's house. You bring this group of people. He's got more games than any person on the planet should have, and he will put out games for everybody. That's the best way of doing it. Great detailed question. I'm not sure where the food comes in, other than they're not eating while playing, but that's a very interesting question. Thank
I
you,
would serve chicken nuggets.
thank you to Iceland. And he or she goes on to say, "I make my broccoli salad with uncooked broccoli, vinegar, crunchy bacon, pine seed, and a little brown sugar and mayo. Why is yours better?"
I think mine is better because I will par cook my broccoli. It's not raw, grassy, crunchy, but it's got a little bit of give to it, and it imparts that broccoli soup lovely flavor to the salad.
I don't make broccoli salad. That's going to be my answer to this. It's
You
not a.
don't cook. I've seen
That's
you
not
even
true.
try a grocery shop.
That's not true. I'm not a cook, but I can, give me some ingredients. I can throw something together. Usually, I've learned a lot during COVID. So of the two that was just mentioned here, I think Corey's would be better. Sorry, trainer, because it got to be a little cooked. I like raw. I like raw broccoli, but then you dip
I
it in
like
like a
raw
sauce.
broccoli, but
Yeah, you dip it in like
just
a onion dip or into something like that. All right. Um, Andrew Walters from the US, at Dusty Shadow on BG. How much effort goes into picking a name for a game? Yes, it often just whatever the designer started with, or are there new titles proposed by a publisher as the game development process, their game development recedes and marketing is considered? So the short answer here is the designer always comes with a name because they're calling it something. Um,
yeah.
we, Jeff Engelstein and I, for our game, we have a name for the project, which I can't say because it would tell you too much. And then we had a name, have a name for the game. The name on the contract is another name because Asmodee made an actual kind of a joke with the name that they put in the contract. But all of this doesn't matter. In the end, they're going to pick up a name that is marketable the best. And the funny thing about asking this question right now, Andrew, is that Jeff Engelstein and I have been working on a title to propose to Asmodee because we don't like the original title. We don't. The project name is not good. Their title is silly, and they wouldn't even use it. So we're literally in the process right now of creating a air quote final title for this game, which of course can change still at
which
any time.
which you should, ask advice from any of your more loquacious and erudite friends.
Yeah. We might put it out there for you guys, but
No worries.
we have to see what
And I've seen both stories. I've seen designers come in with a title and the publisher's like, wow, this is the greatest, most perfect title for this. And I've seen games change title 4, 5, 6 times in its process,
right.
looking for that perfect little catchy. So I don't think that people obsess over it as much as has been implied, but sometimes it's a little bit of a runaround trying to find that perfect dame.
It's not as easy as one thinks especially when it's not like the name of a city in Europe, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm modeling this city, so I'm going to call it, I'm going to call it Stockholm, or I'm going to call it Barcelona, whatever the case may be. All right, everybody, I think it's time to get down to the event deck. No,
Well,
we're going to play testing. Wow, you know what? More coffee. Even I'm tired.
you need a
Play,
bigger mug, is really
play.
what you need.
It's as big as my head almost. Let's get over to play testing. All right.
Now,
So
I
with
just want to say your head is very large, so mug as big as your head. Be careful, because you don't want caffeine poisoning.
Corey, as usual, you came up with the question here for
Yeah,
everybody
I
to
think I
answer.
might. It might have been a little bit of a swing and a miss for Corey this week.
Oh,
So,
really? Okay.
well, the question was, what board game, if ever, has made you cry? And I was thinking about a lot of these very emotionally involved board games, which a lot of which were mentioned in the responses, which I'm really happy about. But I think the most common response is none. A
That's
lot of
interesting.
people riffed off on uh, crying from laughter, rage, but emotionally invested board games. There were a few that I knew would come up, but for the most part, I think people are playing games and having a good time, and it's not a space to get emotionally broken down.
It is kind of interesting that most of this is basically, yeah, like no, I've never done it though. I played this game and I was crying because I couldn't stand it so much, kind of thing. But a couple of things do stand out for me. First of all, our good friend Ann W. She says, "This war of mine was a deeply personal and
Ah,
moving experience. I spent 4 years in Bosnia Herzegovina with USAID, and playing this game brought back specific people and circle. I can't even talk anymore. This was my answer last week, right? It is
yeah,
such a moving experience, and I can't stress enough that you should play this game.
it was so
It's so
difficult.
moving.
That game is so well done.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to cry, don't play this game. If you want a story-driven, emotional experience, this is the game to play. Um,
Some of
Go
the
ahead.
others that I really thought would come up and came up a few times. Jay Atkinson, who's at Doxologos, said "Freedom the Underground Railroad."
Oh,
This one really, really hit me as well. It is so well done. I think people expect certain kinds of games out of this. This is a cooperative game to try to move escaped slaves into safe areas, and it's wrenching. It is a really well done game without going into preachy educational game space, but it's impactful. It's a great one.
yeah, wow. Kirk W. Took a funny tact on this one. The corset maker. Thank you, Kurt. He's always good with us. Uh, I've never cried in a game, but if I tried to imagine a scenario in which this would happen, it would be this. We're sitting around a cafe playing Revive, my favorite game, well into night. We all know the end game is nigh. The waitress comes by with the last round of drinks. As she sets down the last pint, she does not see that a dreaded maple is under the glass. It falls almost as if in slow motion, and in a tidal wave of beer wipes the board state, starts soaking into the player boards and other components. They will forever be warped and saturated with the scent of beer, a beverage I detest. Sorry, Mr. Bonacore. I know
Oh,
you'll never speak to me again.
oh, you've twisted the knife.
That was cute. So yeah, so I guess the answer, the base answer here to everybody's is that they've never had that experience. But I
I
challenge everybody if they want to
think
try this. What I told you, this war of mine, and what Anne agrees with is, and
I
Corey.
suspect Sean Fleury, really good friend, uh, had another one that I think
I
is aimed
I
at you, Stephen.
I refuse to read that one on purpose. Yes,
I'll read it for you. I'm a
yes.
professional. The only time I've ever cried during a game was when I was playing Terraforming Mars, and that was only because I was stuck playing Terraforming
What,
Mars.
Sean? We used to be friends. That was very mean, Sean.
That
Very
was
mean.
awesome.
I love Terraform. I'm
And
sorry.
then, of course, Adrian Patterson brought up one of the other ones I really hoped would come up. Adrian said, none as yet. The closest would probably be playing the Grizzled and getting the shell-shocked soldiers through the end of the Great War. The
Yeah.
Grizzled, such a powerful. I mean, it's an abstract game. It's very simple pictures on cards, but the whole story of going into war and trying to, you never really win. It's just trying to get out before horrible things happen. Um, and the story behind it, the artist on the Grizzled was one of the victims of a terrorist attack in
Oh, yes,
France.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
the Grizzled was the last project that he worked on.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes.
And that is a great game. I've never cried during it, but it
I've
is
gotten
emotional.
very sad and pensive during the Grizzled.
Right, right. So, Corey, you came up again, of course, with this week's question. What do you got for us?
I'm here for you, man. I'm here
You
for you.
are.
So this is an interesting scenario. So someone has offered to do one of these things for you from now on, and you have to pick which one. From now on, do you want someone to set up every board game for you, put away every board game for you, or shuffle every deck when it's time to shuffle? Which one do you pick? Hmm.
Yeah. So,
I
well,
love shuffling, so I'm not going to pick shuffle.
yeah. I mean, I
Maybe.
don't mind shuffling. Certainly. I mean, after
I truly enjoy it. I
after,
like shuffling a lot.
after shuffling a deck of cards, the same deck 40 times, it gets a little old. I'll say, hey, can you do it this time while I go get something, go to the restroom? So shuffling doesn't really bother me. And the putting away of a game, if it's my game, I usually want to be involved, especially if it's a big one. If it's a simple game, just throw it in the box. It's cool. Um, I, you know, I almost want to pick other. I'm okay. I don't mind doing any of these tasks, and
Flipping the table for you.
I like sharing the work with everybody. I know that's not one of the answers. If I had to pick one of these answers,
Nah, nah,
I'd say
nah,
put away the
nah,
game
nah.
while I go do something. Put away the game. What do you think?
I uh I would probably do put it away the game as well because I really enjoy shuffling, like I said. And the setting up helps set my mind. I'm usually the one taking the game down and teaching the game, and setting it
Right.
up helps set my mind for how this is going to play. I really enjoy that. I have no skin in the game and putting the game away. I honestly would not mind if someone just took all the components and just swept them all off into the box
You
or bagged them up carefully. It doesn't matter to me.
You heathen. No, I mean most games I don't take ultra care. I mean not the War of the Ring collector's edition sitting in my corner over there. That's different. But for the most part, no, I put them in the baggies, put them in the box. Okay, we're ready to go to the next
Yeah,
game. So what do you guys all think about this? Great question. I have already created a thread because Corey's incapable for you on Board Game Geek
incapable.
in the guild. Please go there, find out playtesting thread for this question, and post your answer. And hopefully we'll talk about it next week. In the meantime, the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of this podcast, you can. Become a member of the guild, then ask us questions for strategy and tactics, and based on the numbers that you see there, we're taking questions now from December and we're only in February 2025. So they're going to be answered pretty quickly. So just think about that, guys. Do it, do it, do it. Or, of course, answer our question to you from the playtesting segment. It's that simple. I know you can do it. Interact with us on social media. We have the same handle on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube. And that's Board Games Insider, Portal Games US, Podfather Gaming, Dice Tower Dish, Play2Z Games, Above Board TV, and Nerd About Show. Please follow us on the social media of your choice and speak directly to us on those platforms. And a special call out, of course, to the YouTube channels, which have these names: Portal Games Studio, The Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. Most of our stuff gets published there. We would really love to see you in person at an upcoming convention. So you've got two things for Corey and I. Come talk to us at the GAMA Expo, industry people being there, other media people. And of course, then at Dice Tower West, most of our people listening here will be there. Dice Tower West, let's talk. Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Jake Thompson. Thank you, Jake, for being part of the team. And that great voice you hear during the intro, the outro, and the in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work for you at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Corey, that brings us to the end of another great show. Is there anything you would like to tell our audience before we leave?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited about the role-playing game. I was going to mention that we were going to have a meeting about the role playing game.
There you go. And I think
So
that will kind of prove here in this game how little you know about really the world of Tolkien and how, much my knowledge comes out.
yes, 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 probably yes, yes.
It's going to be
I
great.
want to be a centaur,
I think you picked the wrong world for that
a
creature.
Pegasus.
Not in Tolkien. You could be
Oh,
Shadowfax.
I'll be Dumbledore.
And with that, everybody, have a great week. Talk to you next week. Bye bye.
See you, everyone.